this is the return of Meatball Molly McCann versus Hannah Goldy. And if you look at one thing that stands out, first off, she's a minus 380 favorite with a plus 310 comeback for Hannah Goldy. Number two, if you look at her decision prop, it's minus 135. So the odds makers are like, this should be a layup for Molly McCann. And this is kind of what I was alluding to in the intro, that it's like, I'm not saying that she's getting fed cans. Hannah Goldy is not a can. Hannah Goldy is a very, very tough competitor, man. But I just think that in terms of the caliber of fights that Molly McCann should be going, it should be a step up, step up, step up, step up. Explain to me, please, how is Hannah Goldy a step up from Ji Young Kim, from Laura Procopio, from Luana Carolina? Just can you, like, is she a step up? Like, explain to me how we're not advancing. We're just kind of in that same group of characters.
So if we look at strictly stylistic fighting, or the fighting style of all those fighters, the Ji Young Kim, the Hannah Goldy, all the ones you're trying to compare right there, it makes it a little muddier. It makes it a little harder to say she's, leaps and bounds above all the other fighters. Now you say name value. That's what I think we're talking right here. I think Hannah Goldy has this name value. Sure, she struggled a little bit, but for some reason, everybody, even the announcers, everybody, obviously besides those odds makers, are really still hyped on Hannah Goldy, and I think it's a name value kind of thing. And they were thinking like, okay, Meatball, she's had a long career, man, a lot longer than a lot of people can remember, especially in the UFC, but hasn't really taken off until as of late when the homies start coming around, and she's out banging on the canvas, just getting wild for her friends. I think Hannah Goldy had a little bit more of an impactful start, and not fight-wise, if you will, but just in the media presence. A lot of people were holding her in very high regard, kind of fell off a little bit, but she is very fast, very powerful, dangerous in the clinch, sneaky in the grappling. Hannah Goldy can get things done. I just think it's more of a name value score right here than it is like a, you're going to fight somebody very hard for not as much money as you'd want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they're feeding her a little bit right here. She's not a can, if you will, but they're feeding her a little bit. Do you agree or you disagree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, bro. That's kind of the point that I'm making. Look, Molly McCann's already fought Tyler Santos, brother. Diana Belbita. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's just we're not progressing here, and that's why I think that this is more of a play for the London crowd than it is let's advance the career of a Molly McCann. Because if I'm Molly McCann, I'm like, hey, man, you're giving me a kind of favorable matchup. It's going to be a tough fight either way, but you're giving me a kind of favorable matchup. All right, cool. I'll take it. But how does that advance you any further in title contention in the flyweight division? I just don't see it. I don't think this fight does anything for Molly McCann being able to be like, I want to fight Valentina one day. You know what I mean? So if you look at Hannah Goldy, right, and she starts off her career against her UFC tenure against Miranda Granger, loses, fights Diana Belbita, loses, finally gets a win on the board against Emily Whitmire. And Hannah Goldy was very hyped up, right, to kind of start off her UFC tenure. But before that, brother, she had a boxing match and 3 Muay Thai fights, and she won those. And then, you know what I mean, kind of made her debut. So that's just kind of the question. She had a Dana White Contender Series appearance, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. Am I mistaken?
No, Hannah Goldy against Callie Robbins.
Yeah, and decisioned her, and then got a contract, right? So it's like, how often does that happen too? You know what I mean? You have to be a really impressive decision for that to happen. But either way, man, listen, Hannah Goldy, how does she get the job done? She has to clinch up Molly McCann, hold her against that cage, work in some dirty boxing, work in some clinch work, work in some elbows, all that good stuff. Maybe get a takedown, maybe not, you know what I mean? Just try to use her strengths, bro. She looks like a bodybuilder. She's jacked and stacked in the whole entire 9, but Molly McCann has something different, especially when she's working within that London crowd. And that difference is her tenacity, man. She walks forward, she brings it. She's trying to hurt you. She's not trying to compete with you. She wants to hurt you, and she wants the big win, drink fucking beers, go party with Patty the Batty after. You know, it's a whole vibe in London. So I think the odds are heavily stacked in favor of Molly McCann, but is there a path to victory for Hannah Goldy?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, Derek. Strong clinch, ground and pound. She's sneaky. I said it before. She's sneaky in the grappling. I don't see the getting to the. If this does hit the mat, I don't see it being the best for her. So I think if Hannah Goldy can control the neck, control the clinch, and just start firing off some knees, firing off some uppercuts, get Molly McCann away from being the aggressive. And what I wrote down is another mini Mike Tyson, bro. We got a Jessica Andrade version 2 out here with Meatball. If she can avoid that kind of pressure, get Molly on the back foot, get her thinking like, oh, shit, I ate 3 knees. Maybe I should stop just rushing in like a mad woman. Then we see a chess match. Then we see a fight. Then Hannah Goldy has a fighting chance right there. But, man, the scrappiness, the power, the aggression, and the fact that Molly likes that kind of style of fight. She's down to bite down on the mouthpiece and just swing relentlessly, like we saw in Luana, Carolina, and a lot of other fights as well. It does make it a very big hill to climb for Hannah Goldy going forward.
All right, brother. So do you put any money on that plus 1,000 submission prop for Hannah Goldy, or are we sticking with that minus 135 Molly McCann decision prop? What are we talking?
Yeah, the minus 135 decision does sound really nice. Yeah. I can also see a TKO coming from her. I'm going to go decision on this one, though.
Yeah, I feel like if you play the TKO here, you're really feeding, not you, but people, you're really feeding into what happened in her last fight. That spinning back elbow was a very rare occurrence, brother. She has, 16 MMA fights, 5 knockouts. That was her first knockout, and I can't tell you how many years, bro. It'd been like a ridiculous amount of years. So let's look it up together just so we can see. Just because this is why I say recency bias is a real thing, man. Not Hannah Goldy, but we need Molly McCann. All right. So let me sorry, folks, let me get this taken care of. All right, boom.
2018.
2018.
Brioni Tyrell.
Look at that. 2018, brother. So 6 years in between knockouts. And we're over here talking about, she's just going to knock her out. Like, come on, brother. Come on. What are we talking about here? You have to play the trends, right? And that's kind of what I'm talking about. When you play the trends, you think that the decision, there's a reason why the odds makers have it minus 135 for the decision. Can she get a TKO? Absolutely. I'm not saying she can't. But if we're going with odds, if we're going with history, if we're going with patterns and favorability and predictability, we're rocking with the decision. Molly McCann, that's a lock right there. And